Well, he goes by the name Yonela Tshambu. We social worker. Usebenza kucala le child protection. And usebenza ne courts, wenza home visits. He also does the follow-ups on the complaints. He works with the primary and high school kids as well. So namhlanje we're going to talk more about social work and nezinye nje topic is important. And I want to send a shout out to abantu who keep viewing our content on the channel. Ziyakhipha6to8. Please keep on subscribing, keep on sharing, and keep on following.
And how cool are we that we're always bringing the best of the best that Izolile has to offer?
We are cool. You're overstrained.
Yeah.
You're overstrained.
For sure.
Yes, that is my colleague. My name is Demo, DEEMO with socials.
And my name is Charlotte Mbata, your resident artist and architect.
Yes, so these two voices, Osborne off camera, Ozivai off camera, zipilonga kuthi.
Yeah.
Kukrand Bram.
Kuhle mna kwethu.
Sure.
Yes, ndiyabulela balapha. Thankful for the opportunity to come and present my life and what I do on a daily basis. So, but right, Grootman,
sure. Okay. Talking about what you do on a daily basis, I think we can take it from there.
Yeah, as Udi has like introduced us briefly into what you do, I just want to know like why social work? Like what made you decide, but this is what I want to pursue as a career?
So sometimes I also like to say to people that I didn't choose social work, but social work chose me.
In what sense?
I'm a person that loves to help abanye abantu. When I help omunye umuntu, that's where I get my fulfillment from. You know, when I can help you, it doesn't need to be financial, but when I can help you to a certain point, it fulfills me.
Wow.
Social work is a profession where we work with the vulnerable of the vulnerable, and we assist. You know, so that for me was the pull to say that I'll be able to assist abantu. So that's why I chose or the profession chose me rather. Yes.
And would you say it's got anything to do with like your upbringing that you ended up choosing this career?
Oh no, definitely.
Tell us more about it.
Growing up in Lokshin.
Yeah.
A lokishi has its social ills. Emakhayeni wethu kuqala. Estratweni abahlala khona. So I've experienced within my personal household kuqala izinto, uyabo?
Yeah.
And then nasestratweni. So ke ngoku that's where la link comes in, yabo. So social work ke ngoku, when I am dealing with these various cases, I know from a personal point of view and from a street point of view, izinto nizibonile kuchombam ne family zabo, uyabo. So that's where the link is. Where even when I do render services, I take it from a point of our people, you know, our communities. It's more I have the relationship with these communities. It's not necessarily just as a job where I'm gonna get a paycheck but it's connected to myself personally and to the people as well.
Yeah. And what would you say are some of those things that you grew up seeing that you saw there is a need for a person of in this career?
Sure, it's there's a lot of them, but I'll just mention
give us a
few. Substance abuse within the household, and nasestratweni, gender-based violence.
That's a big one.
I've seen it, went through it. So that's just the two, and the neglect, and abuse. So those four I can say are the highlights of social issues that I have encountered.
Talking about the gender-based violence, which is like it's one of the hot topics
Yeah,
currently.
yeah. Almost
in our
everyone
society.
has gone through it.
Yeah.
I just want to know from you, but because our SIVA is landugly acronym, GBV, the first thing that comes to your mind is males doing bad things or taking females.
Sure.
Is that only the case?
Definitely not, sir. That's not the case at all, because sometimes it's the other way around. It's the other way around. And I mean, abuse, I think most of the time when we talk about abuse, we think of physical abuse. We neglect emotional, verbal abuse. So those are the kind of abuses that happen vice versa, yabo. Only when you see the physical abuse, then you start to say, hey, that's abuse. But the verbal and emotional side of abuse, it's more hidden. Yeah.
And it's not spoken about much.
For sure, especially Kengukutina as abandabangotata, we are taught not to, to be verbal about those things because it makes us look like weak. Yeah.
Hey, Dina, this thing, I don't know whether I'm saying I passion, because they are related to the problems that we experience in our townships, because now the khulele kasi. And I'm at a point in life whereby I'm very curious about the root cause, like the real reason behind why ubanbani ezo end up by echisa documents ezgabani. Talking about that, last week I was having a conversation with a female friend. ACT, and I don't want to mention genders, but ACT, this person uyewachisa ilanduka i-belongings zalona cababa kwi-relationship, uyewachisa i-belongings zalona wakhazula o-ID ondondondondondondondondon.
Sure.
And the first thing that came to my mind was, yazi, most of the time xa sisiva into ezifana nezi sivele siconcentrate kwinto bana how can you?
Yes.
Uyanthola. And I would like to know the reason why I'm raising this. Ndifuna ukwazi uba ngaba if mhlambi ndijonga wrong na xa ndisiva uba kwenzeke something like that, my mind immediately goes to, I wonder what's been happening over a period of time that then led to this person having to react to this situation ngol hlobo and end up carrying out these acts, because there must be an underlining
a root cause
somewhere there. We are told.
Yes.
Am I looking at it the wrong way? Because I'm not trained. I'm not.
Yeah. No.
I'm not a psychologist.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yes.
Trauma. Because of the environments that we are born in, automatically we are exposed to trauma.
What is
trauma?
Yeah. We always throw these terms around.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna go into book definitions, but a experience that is unpleasant, that shocks your ingqondo yakho, nenhliziyo yakho, uyabo, that then later affects how you think and how you feel about certain things.
A breakup, can it be
for sure?
Like for instance, we teenager, 18, you get into your first relationship, ube heartbroken.
Yes.
Can that be list their trauma?
For sure. Situation yasekasi, you get into 5 relationships, all of them don't work out. So in your mind, these things don't work out. You don't even, invest your time that much in those relationships, because the first 5 were traumatic.
Yeah.
So if the first 5 were traumatic, so you're thinking
all of it.
So you're entering as relationships with the unresolved trauma that you've encountered as E5.
Yeah.
I'm one of the people who have had my own fair share of trauma. One of the things I didn't know for a long time was the actions that bendi zenza, ne, that were connected to something ekukhuleni kwami.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
the reason why I'm behaving this way, ndimdala, amongst these people,
Sure.
it's not because it's these people or it's something of today. And like I need to go back and go fix something eyenzeka kudala
Sure.
ingenzwanga ndim but yenziwe ngusomeone
Yes.
to me, right?
That's what we also do. That's what psychologists do. That's what social workers do. We go back. We take you back,
In
you know,
time.
and we were like, when you were this age, you know,
Yeah.
how was your life, you know, and then you would describe when mano mama left ndashika nhlala nomakhulu wami, you know, so
Yeah.
ndaqala ke ngoku when I needed to hustle for self because umakhulu was insufficient. Then ke ngoku aze umuntu ne storylines and then you find out, oh man, in this guy's childhood, you know, there's things that happened with him that are making him behave this way.
Yes.
That is done kakhulu
Yes.
with prisoners. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
prisoners when they are doing assessments and they are going back on their lives, a lot of them are found that they didn't have a father figure. You know, so they don't even know how to act responsibly. They don't know how to protect families zabo,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
become male figures ngokwa, because one thing that children do, they model what they see kutata wabo. So a lot of these guys that are in prison that had never had a father,
Yeah.
so that void had always been there. So now when they always track back, but what happened, you always hear, no, my dad was not there, you know, so my mother had to strive.
Yeah.
Therefore I watched Ugrotman Banbane down the street.
Yes,
That's why I became like him.
that's why I
Yeah.
became, because you
Yeah.
know why Ugrotman became my father. He Ugrotman that was not doing right
Yes.
just closed that gap yoba
Got time.
time.
He made me feel like I belong,
Sure.
even
You know.
though he was driving me to
Yeah.
the wrong direction.
Sure.
Yes, this same system that happens and operates within gangsterism. The eldest members or the leaders, they understand that a lot of these kids in our communities don't have fathers. So what they do is
They groom them.
they groom them and they close a gap katata. That is a very important gap emntwini. So they understand if the light is a role wayo, I'm gonna have his loyalty. He can kill for me because I've closed that land bar that he had never had.
Yeah.
That's how he goes to jail.
This sounds to me like also advice to all single mother who are depriving or data access to their children.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about all data who are willing to be part of their children's lives.
Yes.
But there's a single mother somewhere there, or there's a mother. There's a mother who decides to go to, you know what, because mna Yonela okanye mna Nodi sine issues zethu indlela mhlambi sohlukana ngayo, therefore akazumva lo
Yeah.
mntana.
For sure.
So you are saying that right there opens up a gate to anybody omdala wendoda who can then look at your child and be like, you know what,
For sure.
xa nomfumana lona
For sure.
anganisebenzela ndiyenzele 1 2 3 and 4
Yeah.
Exactly.
and probably
Exactly.
end up in jail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's deep. It's deep.
I really like how, you know, when we asked the first question, we only got the explanation of what a trauma response is. We didn't give you a chance to actually expand on the question that we asked.
Oh, yeah.
But I love how we've gone full circle and you've actually explained it, like
Sure,
in the
sure.
questions that Uti is
Sure.
asking. So
Yes,
I really do
Yeah.
like that. So I think also it's just like another thing for us as umpagati to be aware of there are such things as e-triggers, so that every time we exhibit a certain behavior, we can look back at our childhoods and see about where could this behavior be coming from. Because I
Yes.
know me and my co-host up at studio, like we always talking about those things. Like
Yeah, we
we found out that we when we do things that are like out of character, we always look back and be like, where is this? Which stage of my life is this coming
Yes.
from? You know?
Yes. Where did I pick this up? Yes. And I the thing about Omama that deprive the fathers, salute to all the women that make sure that they raise a man.
Yes.
But
yes,
now
yes.
the gap is that with all these efforts that you put in to raise this child,
Ooh.
you cannot replace his father.
Hey.
So you
Wow.
you have made sure that financially mntanakho
Mm.
went Hermanas High, you know, to the best of schools.
Yeah.
Sure.
You have made sure that lo mntana unxiba impahla that other kids can't
Yes.
afford.
Jagamand.
Yo.
Utya kamnandi, yabo uphatha kamnandi, you know. You've
Protected.
made sure, you know.
Yes.
And that's not a bad thing. But now all of those things unfortunately cannot replace the space of the child's father.
Absolutely. And can I tell you, Ba, I think I was almost at this big age where I realized just how important it is to actually have a father in your life. Like I was raised by a single mom who was very hands-on. Yeah,
Yes.
So I also grew up with the mentality yoba gumama kum gutata kum, you
Yeah.
know. But it's only at this age that I'm realizing man no gumama kum. Period.
Yes.
There's no gumama
Yes.
kum gutata kum. Her role was to be umama, and she did that the best of her ability. But with that said, the fact that my father wasn't in the picture, it's a scare. It's just business thing address on us.
For
you
sure,
know?
for sure, because the mother plays a certain role, the father plays a certain role.
Yes.
These are natural roles.
Yeah.
The mother is more of the caregiver,
Yeah.
the soft one, you know.
Oh, mntanam,
Yes.
idolo lakho
She shouldn't have to be
uwile.
hard.
But
Yes.
now dad is more like mfondini phakama.
You see?
Kutheni manje usiwa?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, okanye subaleka kanje,
Hey.
yithi, you know. So
And
what-
that's love, by the way.
that
Yes,
is.
both
It
of
sounds
them.
harsh,
That
but
is love.
that is love from
Yes.
dad. That's
And-
how dad loves.
Yes.
Do you know how
yes.
amazing it is to have both figures in the picture, because then a child can see the in between, whereas
Yes.
if it's just the one, there's no in between.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
mom is like you too yawa is a bit soft,
Yeah.
that is a bit too hard, and then the child can naturally find the midpoint and
Yeah.
balance those two advices
Yeah.
out.
The fathers are the almost like they enforce the rules. They enforce la authority.
Yeah.
Yabona okwakoyika uqombe ndiyafuna umosha but time yami izandenzela swag.
I have somebody to answer to.
Yeah, yabo.
Yeah.
But because so now that is very important in terms of the behavior yomntana, because what we are seeing now is esikolweni. If you check what is happening esikolweni, just watch with a lot of single parents that are only have the moms, you know,
Yes.
and the dad is not there. The behavior of the kids in the schools is not good.
Your tools.
As hloniphi, kids basically abantwana bahloniphi, and this is because of the family structure
Yeah.
that is now broken.
And
Yabo.
it's unnatural now for umama to be both hard and soft.
She's not.
They've tried, but
that's
it's
not
it's
in
not
her nature.
It's
That's
not,
not in her
you know,
nature, no.
and it's contradictory and confusing to umdana. I'm
Yes,
assuming.
Yes.
So in other words, because Charlotte, that's where the question started. Kukho Mother's Day. Kukho omama abaninzi, both young and old, who come out even like social media and take the cup yokuthi, look, ndingumama ndingutata kulo mntana. Even like Father's Day, they also want to be recognized.
Sure.
To
Which
say,
they should, Shep.
ndingumama ndingutata.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the advice is please try by all means necessary to make sure about utata umntana
Yeah.
ukhona, or else and you correct me, apha efamilini yakho as a single mother, if you guys nyani irreparable relationship yenu notata and mhlambe akafuni uba abe part and parcel yobomi bomntana,
Yeah.
try and find oankile nobhuti bakho abakhoyo so that
Yeah.
they can
Yeah. Ngesintu it's always been like that. Utata akho ibrother yakhe encinci kuthiwa ngutata omncinci.
Yes. Yeah.
deputy the deputy
Yeah,
dad.
ngutata omncinci. So
Sure.
it's understood that hey, if he's not there, utata omncinci is going to take the role of uba ngutata wakho. Not
Yeah.
necessarily ba abe nomama wakho, but that role of utata. Utata
Yeah.
omncinci is going to assume that role. Yabo.
And it's so scary that nowadays we're living in such a broken society where even that is not the family that's supposed to raise a child is non-existent, because we have drifted so far apart from each other, and we can trace that back to like social ills that happen in our society that we can't really control. But I think the way that we can deal with the current situation is to be aware of
Definitely.
that change, you know, that has happened. And I'm gonna play devil's advocate a bit,
Sure.
Dee, and just
Yeah.
say, but also to the fathers, be responsible, be in the child's life. You know, sometimes it doesn't even mean uba uzawukhupha imali. Sometimes it just means like being present.
Sure.
You know, and those are the things, those are the memories that last the longest. Ebantwaneni uba utatam sepakini. Yabo, like those small little
Very
things.
important.
You know, it will make life so much easier.
Very important. I like what you are saying, City. The dads must jump on board. I think we also need to advertise izinto, or even put it in the school system programs such as how to father.
Ooh.
You know, how to father.
Yeah, we don't have such a program.
Yeah.
No, like,
available like us.
no.
Yeah.
Even I had a child, ne?
Yeah.
And I had no idea, but like, I mean, I knew I'm gonna be part of his life, but
Yeah.
I don't know how to father.
Ooh.
What are the things that I need to do?
Hey.
What is my role here?
Mm.
You know, I mean, imagine if you had this kind of education from a primary,
Yeah.
and you knew as a boy child that, look, at some point I will need to father someone.
Yes.
This is how I will need
Yes.
to act when I'm a father. So now you have guys with kids, but they don't know how to father those kids.
I'm raising Ilanduka, a daughter, ne? And
He's doing a great job.
Sure,
I'm
I'm
Great
trying. I learned something also. Bending umdoselayo in the past. It's been what, over now 3 years? Saying ngasele. One of the things I noticed is this. Zikhona izinto that are not going to happen ebomini bakho until you stop ezinye izinto.
For sure.
Because you must have space for ezinye izinto. And sometimes la blessing uyifunayo ayizi because the environment, awuka create environment ezoba conducive for le into ba ikwazi ukuthi
Definitely.
blossom flourish.
Yeah.
Yabo?
Definitely.
One thing endiyaziyo ngamajita asekazi is this, thina majita. When you have umntana oqala ingaske ibe light, ibe ngumjita, a male, right?
Yes.
Because you want to do male things.
Sure.
Into ezifanayo, you know,
Aye, for
caps
sure.
ezifanayo, jonga points, akosa kwisoccer, sit.
Yes.
For me, that was not the case. The first one, daughter. And one of the conversations we've had recently was, she asked me, Oba, did I always want a girl child or a boy child? And I had to tell her the truth. She's 9. Daddy, look, I explained exactly what I just did. But as Tina, as Otata, the first thing that comes to our mind, most of us,
Yes.
is that we want to have a boy child. But nditikuye, as soon as ufika, you have changed how I see your life so much that I appreciate having you because you've challenged me to be better.
Ooh.
And I'm going back to the issue yokhasa because that would mean certain times I'll have to go in Khasweni. She was
sure.
born while Disasel.
For sure.
But I've been able to notice so many things that I would not have maybe the time to notice because I now have this extra time to spend with her to learn, because he's also teaching me to parent better.
Yes,
Ooh.
for sure.
We're going back to Lando 80. I was not qualified to be a parent
Yeah,
because there was no training that I've gone through apart from having watched
sure.
my mother, my father, of which again, if you start digging deep, you'll notice Uguti, they did their best under the worst circumstances.
Yeah.
You know where we come from.
Yeah.
Tear gases and that, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't even have enough time because basespani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imini yonke we are under leadership kabanba.
Yeah.
Anfunu bamde.
Sure.
But all I'm going to say is this: fathers out there, Majida, who are young, the moment you open up a space to spend this card with umtanako, there's so much you're going to learn. In fact, you're going to grow.
Yes.
Mentally,
For sure.
emotionally, because emotionally this child is going to challenge you.
For sure.
Uzo bora at some point
Yes.
because uzokubuza questions ezininzi.
Yes.
And guess what I realized? The more these questions come up, these questions are also exposing you ukuthi you don't know. Therefore, the question is now, do you tell umntanamba andazi, or are you going to do research so you can come back and give them the answer?
Sure.
Because if you don't give them the answer, TV will,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
somebody
Yes,
else down the street will,
Yeah.
other kids from what they learned, they're going to give your child the answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know, sure.
And also, I just feel like to add on to what you're saying, and also
Sure.
like not being afraid to be wrong. You are being a parent for the very first time in your life. You haven't done it before. Anyone who judges you, it just shows because if they'll understand that you're doing everything for the first time. And what's so beautiful about raising a child is you will probably mess up a bit, but you learn. It's like getting sick. Your immune system gets better. The more you get sick, the more it gets better. To the outside, it looks bad. It just looks bad. But inside the body, so much change is happening. Your body is learning to adapt better. It's the same with parenthood. I think we also come from an era where the fathers that we had, even the people that had fathers in their lives, their fathers were very distant. That you can't even approach. You know? And I think where that comes from, now that I'm old, I can see, but no, even the father was actually scared of the child because they never knew where to connect the dots between the two. So the immediate response was to shout, so they say as far away as possible. And that wasn't the best, form of parenting, not the best place for us as the new parents now to learn from.
Because now what they had learned from
their own
parents.
They were just doing what they knew. They knew, we ought to know better because of the information than access that we have to information, which they necessarily did not have. But coming back of raising a child with both parents, it's always been like that. Only when the father needed to come out of the house and go work elsewhere, that's when the family structure broke down. That's where the social issues came in.
Good point.
But it always used to be tata waikona, uleti waikona. You knew there's some activities uzenza no tatako, some activities mamako.
And utata kaya full time, like they've got access to you all day.
Sure. So there's that balance. That balance in between. Needs a balance.
So basically, what you are saying is that if kukho a single parent, whether ngumntu ongutata okhulisa umntana, if lo mntana experiences the fatherly love, like we talked about it earlier, lo mntana is going to grow up expecting ukuthi everywhere else this is what love looks like. If they are having the mother alone, they're going to grow up thinking everywhere this is how I must be treated, because I'm seeing today zikhona intanga zam ethi xa ndithetha nazo at times I discover ukuthi you are not used to ubu straightforward. It shocks you, and unfortunately, because you haven't done the work, you are blaming me for talking golfo. And now at times when the more we talk, because if friend yako will keep on talking, and then at some point you discover, so in background yako, this is what happened. Now I get it. Now I get it. But ibabhlungu when you are dealing with someone who doesn't get it, because you react, I react. I know zihlangana.
Just expand more on what he said in your professional opinion.
Like it just go back to a balance. You know what? If you would had utata, would bring the hardness and sometimes the truth that you don't want to hear. And then you would have mama with the soft, the love, the nurturing. That person is balanced. He's able to even to attack challenges and hardships. When they are now older, they don't always always expect things to be soft. They know that and then the father plays that role. So that balance is very important.
I have a question. So how has studying social work, practicing social work, living social work affected your family structure, the way that you viewed family and everything in between?
So it has informed me so much, to a point that I then saw the importance of the family structure. Because in my experience where I was working, all of the cases, even before working in the field, I would see that the issue is actually the family structure. The family structure is broken. So once the family structure is broken, the kids yes, they would suffer because of that. Some would then go out and seek just to close that gap. They would use substances. That's where the drugs come in, you know. And that's when if you're intoxicated with the drugs, that's where the stealing, the shooting, the violence comes in. Because had that family structure been solid, this child could have been a total different person.
Wow.
You could have been talking with a judge or a doctor.
Yeah.
But because of the family structure, you know, so social work has highlighted the importance of family,
So we as a family, we can literally mess up the future yomdana by just how we're carrying ourselves.
For sure.
At the back of our minds, we're looking at lomdana, but so you can be into a tile. But based on what we do on a daily basis, we can literally mess up.
Yeah.
If you share, is that what
for example, even most of us, how we behave is based on how we observed our parents behave.
Yes.
Jeez.
We observed how our uncle was behaving. Like for example, I'm not gonna call his name. There was Utato Mngwam. Tato Mngwam was, you know, he was a clean guy, you know, soft-spoken
Makes
guy,
sense.
you know. And then he had a lot of girlfriends. And they just gravitated towards him. And Naebe, you know, he had the ability to talk with them and charming.
He had the riz.
And I was next to him
Hey.
whilst all of these things was happening.
Did you have to cover up for him at some
No,
point?
I didn't have to.
Okay.
But I was watching him. I was watching him as he approached a stranger that he had never seen before. Approach this person and he talks, and hey, this person starts to smile. Hey, now there's an exchange of what, and later, and 2 days, or then he tells me, hey, that's my girlfriend. I'm like, ooh, you know. And I was next to him.
Jeez.
Fast forward, couple of years later, I'm modeling what he's doing.
Hey.
Exactly the same way.
And if you're in studio today, you know that he is dressed to the T. I'm
By the
saying
way,
from the shoe to the pants to the watch, yay, to the shades.
Exactly
And
the
that's
same
true,
way.
bro. The drip is on point.
Yeah.
By the way, Nancy, disclaimer. He took off his
His shades.
before we started, but we asked you to put them on.
Sure.
Yeah, so people must know, but you're not hiding anything. We asked you to put them on because, bro,
It completes the outfit
completes
so
the
well.
outfit.
Ah,
And
thank
we felt good tonight. It wasn't gonna be fair.
Danko.
You know, but now they are
Yeah.
off.
Sure.
Yeah. Bro, what are the requirements of Ilanduka if I want to get into social work? What must I study?
Okay, you
Or can you, when in your case, what did you?
Yeah, I studied a UWC. It's a 4-year degree. I went into something they call if kugcwele varsity, then you can do 1 year. It's almost like you're waiting for a space, but they're preparing you ngokupakla environment. So I did like 5 years, but it's actually a 4-year degree.
Is that what's called an extended program?
Yes. Yeah, they would call it an extended program. You're just coming in, okay, I've got space, but we're gonna prepare you, because the gap from high school to university is so big. So that helped me so much, Lanyaka, where I could be exposed to university, So, but just back to what you were asking, 4-year degree, you are in.
And in high school, what subjects am I taking?
In high school, no, in high school it's really not that. I know specifics kakulu. It's not like you need to do physics and maths and
Okay, and then in terms of like points, can I just go there with my bachelor's or my D pass? What's the
no,
requirement
you need
there?
you need a bachelor's. You need a bachelor.
Okay.
You need a bachelor. If you have a bachelor,
Then you're in.
But of course, there's competition there. So the better marks you have, the better chances you have.
Oh, I like that. I have a fun question for you.
Sure.
I don't know if it's going to be fun, but I think it's fun. What were your assumptions about social work before you got into it? And what is the reality now that you're into it?
A lot of money, I thought.
Isn't that with every career?
I thought
I'm gonna have a sports car in 2 years.
Yeah, sports car. I'm gonna stay in the suburbs.
I'm living the hood.
Yeah, I'm living this is my passport to live the
But
hood.
we've got an iWatch.
But when I get there,
Oh yeah.
it's not the same. It's not the same. Grateful for what I get
Yeah.
in terms of the package, but I feel like it's for the amount of work that social workers do.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
So the expectations were a bit higher than the reality
Yeah,
of
for
it.
sure. But in terms of intensity, I also didn't expect it to be this intense.
Ooh,
Yabo.
yeah.
Even though I knew we are living in a country that's third world country, given our history also,
Yeah.
it just gave birth to a lot of social issues. So I
Yes.
knew that I'm going to work in vulnerable communities with vulnerable children. So that is going to be a lot of work. Sometimes I'm like, yo, am I really doing enough?
Yeah.
Because there's so many of his case.
Yeah.
Yabo. So many of his case of abandoned behavior, substance, so what. So there's so much, but I'm still here and I'm still enjoying.
Does a weekend ezinkulu impact your life as a social worker?
Yeah, definitely.
He's human.
What I mean is,
Does it impact the work when I come back Monday, like weekend in Gulu, or my life personally?
no. I think the was a wrong
On the
with
social
question.
side.
Rephrase.
After a weekend in Ngulu, do you have more cases to deal with? If it's a no,
No,
if you have you
not
not noticed?
really.
Have you noticed
Not
any?
really. But I would say that after a weekend in Gulu, like social work is also divided. You know, there's the social workers that deal with risk. You know, now a weekend in Gulu would affect that social worker because like weekend in Gulu, a lot of things happened. And
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
children were neglected. A lot of children were exposed to dangerous situations.
Yeah.
So on the Monday, those social workers would get those calls. Yabo. Umntana esikolweni akakwazi ubhala. Uyalila. When this child is asked kwenzeke ntoni and then he narrates. This child can't function, so help needs to be called for. Yabo. So it would, because Ibuken Nkulu means more consumption
Oh yes.
of substances,
Yeah.
and consumption consumption alcohol nezo substances kakhulu, it then goes to behavior abantu that do those things. Yabo.
Yeah.
Behavior yabo iphume ecaleni, and then ke ngoku abantwana then subjected kwezo circumstances enjalo. So it would affect some of colleagues that work specifically in that area.
Yo,
For sure.
And you were saying you personally,
Done.
weekend in Ngulu, no.
No, me, it doesn't affect me at
Okay.
all. It does not affect me at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you because you are doing umsebenzi that I think has the potential to bring up stress, because you are taking so much onto yourself. Number one, you have to get
Definitely.
into the shoes of, you know, this child, try to understand them, and ungumntwana care, so obviously that must affect you.
Yes.
At what level does it affect you? I don't know if that's the right question to ask.
Yeah, it does affect a person, because you are dealing with a lot of
Traumas.
traumas. You are dealing with a lot of traumas, and yet you have to come home, you know,
To your family,
to your family
be happy.
and be happy and
Hey.
switch off. And switch off. So when I began doing social work, it was very difficult for me to switch off.
Really?
It was very difficult for me to switch off. I would speak in my sleep about in my sleep about ilanduka cases.
Ooh.
Jeez.
I just couldn't switch off. It was always in my mind. So but with that said, with the stress that it brings, one has to have methods of calming your mind down, of
And
calming
coping.
yourself down, and being able to detach from
Yeah.
that. It's very important. I was saying off air that it's so ironic that social work as the profession has the highest divorces
Sure. The irony.
Kuzo zonke
Is
the
it?
profession, and you would think that we would be lost in that
Yeah,
line,
like you have everything under control.
because
Yeah.
we are actually working to mend families.
Yeah.
Yet our families are suffering. But I think it's because of that thing of as a stress and what you see, then you become toxic to your own family.
Yeah.
Yabo?
Mm.
And then you don't detach. There's no things that are put in order for you to be able to deal with this stress positively. Yabo?
And you may have a partner that doesn't understand what's going on with you.
Yeah, because it's also not easy to understand.
Yeah.
It's also
shame.
really not easy to understand.
When you're in the moment. you know,
yeah,
I can.
yeah.
So
And-
you said there are things. Sorry, Charlotte. Apologies. You said there are things that you had to do. Things like.
Meditation,
Sure.
one of the things. Jogging,
Okay.
yeah, those exercise, playing soccer. Those are the things that really assisted me. I didn't go and seek for a psychologist and so forth. I rather used the meditation, and I did jogging and so forth, and those things calm me down. You know, they bring back the perspective. You know, they really calm my mind down. And for me, that is a positive way of dealing with the stress. There are other ways.
Yeah.
You know, I could be intoxicating myself. I could come back from a span and feel like I'm better Z3 man, or Z2. I want to away. And then as Z2 just becomes my life.
Every
Yeah,
time
no,
after span.
every time after a span. Okay, in the weekend, no. Then's a show, you know, but I'm gonna, you know, I need to plabe so that le way up in ngqondweni kumi yabo ndizo escape kancinci yabo.
Yeah.
So there are other methods like that, but I choose not to use as a methods. For as far as I know, ezindizisebenzayo zisandisebenzela mna yabo i-methods.
Wow. So it can get to a point, like you're saying, mhlambe with other colleagues, it can get to a point whereby now you really need to seek ilandoka uncedo from a psychologist.
For sure.
It's quite
In
serious.
fact, I think we all should be getting that service after let's say after a 6 months period. It should be compulsory that you see someone so you can offload.
I assumed that was the case for psychologists and for doctors, because I think what you explained is sort of like similar to what doctors go through also.
Sure,
they're on
sure.
call, you know, and I just feel like if you're dealing with that much trauma, so it's a no-brainer that you also should have someone that you're offloading a lot of like the the mental load that you're carrying, you know. And my question is, what was that thing for you that made you realize, but I need to start dissociating myself from ingxaki endidila nazo eziziswa zii-clients zam umzekelo yintoni owayibona ekhayeni lakho umzekelo yayenza uba i-highlighteke loo nto?
Yeah. So like just being toxic towards my partner, grumpy, like afundlanga nabantwana, you know, you just constantly like I understand sometimes you are tired, but it goes beyond londo. Yeah, but you just feel like afundlanga nabantwana anymore, you know, and how you speak to your partner yakho. Yeah, so those indicators for me were like no, this is not how I am going to live my life.
Yeah.
Rather I find ways, much healthier ways to deal with my work and to withdraw and come back home as a father, as a husband, not as a social worker.
Because I guess you could say it has a lot to do with like how much, you know, earlier on you said social work made you realize how important the family structure is. So you'd say it probably had a lot to do with the amount of value that you place in having a family.
Definitely.
As social workers, i-relationship yenu with i-community ingaba i-healthy? How are you received currently?
It could be better. Could be better.
Okay.
Why am I saying it could be better? I think communities still view us as abantu who come to snatch abantwana. You know, stathela abantwana apha. And that's not our role.
Okay.
Our role, for example, if I'm going to remove mntanakho because you are on a substance, I need to make sure that you go to a rehabilitation center.
Yeah.
So that you can get the help, so I can make sure I return your child to you, but this time around you are more conducive to that child. Yabo. I'm not there to take umntanakho and give it to another family, leave you there as that substance user. Yabo. That's, for me, it's like you did a half job.
Yeah.
But if you can say, look, this child is removed from their parent,
Yeah.
but we're going to make sure that this parent gets help for the substance, because at the end of the day, that is the family of Lamdan.
Yeah.
And a human
Yeah.
being wants to be with wants to be with their family. And another thing that I've noticed is that, you can take a child from a shack and you place a child in a suburb,
Yeah.
and they won't be happy.
Mm.
And in your mind you
Oh,
thought,
yeah.
no, it's a shack. I've just placed you in a house with 4 rooms, a pool, and you thought, but for that child it's not home.
No.
Home is that shack.
With the mom.
With that mom that
And the
you thought
dad.
is a substance abuser,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
this guy is just a drunkard. For that child, that's his father.
Exactly.
That's his mother. So it's important when we teenagers, as social workers, when we do these removals, in the back of our mind, we must always think, this is our communities. If we take this person's child, we must make sure. In fact, even court, there's an order that you can make a court. This person must make sure that he goes to a rehabilitation center. And if he does not follow that, uzobanjwa.
So the plan is to make sure sifixa uD ukwenzela uD akwazi uzoparent apha endlini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we mending the family again. Yeah, because that child needs to be within a family.
Dude, I'm glad that you explained it, because of the lack of information. Umzekelo, I was making like example yokuthi xa unobuza abantu abayi-10 uba yintoni umsebenzi wamapolisa, I'm sure you can get 10 different answers.
Sure.
Yet we've seen amapolisa all our lives. It's just that we experience them differently. And to be honest with you, nam I did have that thing yokuthi once kwafika unontlalontle uyazi umkile laa mntana. Yabona ke yabona ngosekufika once kwafika esa stage soba kungena unontlalontle uyazi uba ke ngoku hayi seyishubile.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think let's take a breather and then sibuye, because we've got more to talk about.
Yeah, I still have, I think, one more burning question.
Sure.
Nela, uthe one of some of ilanduki duties olanduka obusy ngazo is working with you do home visits.
Yes.
When the follow ups kwi complaints, and then usebenza ne primary as well as high schools. You also mentioned e-courts.
Yeah.
Do you have to testify ngamanye amaxesha ilandukeni eboxini?
Sure. So I haven't testified yet, but this is what happens. I deal with a court when I'm going to place a child in alternative care. So I need to write a report stating what happened to Lumdana, what type of abuse happened. We have a Children's Act 35 of 2005, 38 of 2005. That book is our Bible that we use as social workers. So basically it shows when a child is abused, this as long as definition is par. So then I write my report using that as a guideline to say that, look, this child has been exposed to dangerous circumstances, or this child has been neglected. Then I submit that to court, and then I get a foster parent, I screen the parent, and then I say to court, look, the biological mother circumstances are not conducive for the child because of this child is being neglected or abused. However, I do have a foster parent that is willing and able to stand in for the biological parent. This time I'm in court, it's recorded, and then the presiding officer is sitting there. I need to present my request. My request is listened to, and the court can decide yes, or the court can decide no. And then they can obviously also appoint a lawyer for the child. Yeah.
And I also heard ukuthi if you are removing umntana from a parent, I hope I'm using the right language.
Yes, you are.
You anilanduki, you don't immediately niyomfaka kwi-stranger. You look kwalapha kwi-family relatives.
Yes.
There could be a sister,
Yes.
space
Yes.
who can accommodate umntana.
Yes.
And so is that correct?
That is correct. And the reason for that is because you don't want to expose the child to strangers at the same time. If a child is comfortable with their aunt while you're working with the moms, that is the best thing, because this child is not in an environment that is strange to them. So our first point of reference when a child is removed or a child needs to be placed, we will make sure that we look at family first, and then if no one is, in some cases no one wants to, in some cases no one is willing, then you would have to look for a children's home or a foster parent, alternative care.
Sure. It's also interesting.
Very.
Sure. Did you wanna ask anything before I ask my final question?
I think
I think it's basically covered
just on the
everything.
court, it's very intimidating to be in court. I don't know if you've been in court, but
no, it is. I have been.
It's very intimidating to be in court. The first time I had to be in court, I was probably shaking. As I was presenting my as I was presenting the case, I was almost like shivering, because I've never been, and TV, that's what TV does to us. We've been watching TV and how court operates and all of these things. So now when I was in court, I was like, oh, I'm in court. But the more you go to court, the more you just understand, it's just standard procedure. Yes, you get used to it.
Sure. So my question is, do you think the market is saturated? And by saturated, I'm asking do you think is there too many psychologists, social workers? There's limited space for people who still want to get into the profession. And the reason I'm asking that question is because I'm of the impression that there are too many social workers. Like London yazi engqondweni yami, like ngongisafunda kuthiwa angabi social worker, baninzi gqithi social worker, awuzoba namsebenzi. Is that a truth or is that a myth? And what are the circumstances surrounding that?
Looking at the current situation of our country, looking at the current situation of our communities, the level of suicides, the level of substance abuse,
the impact of COVID
with the unemployment, which is the ripple effect that other things come out. That is an indication that people are in need of assistance. So what is happening currently within our profession is that, in my opinion, we need more social workers. Social workers are there's less social workers, and there's a lot of cases that they need to deal with. So either the efficiency that they have is now limited because there's so many cases. If you could divide these cases amongst, let's say, 3 social workers, where you would have one, the efficiency, the service would be better.
It would run
because now the social worker has probably 10 cases that they need to work on versus a 63 or a 43 cases that one person needs to work on. So the efficiency then is affected. And coming back to we have a lot of social workers that are qualified that are at home. They don't have jobs. Me myself, I was also in that position. I'd completed studying, couldn't get a job. I had a son, so I had to look for a place to work. So eventually, luckily, someone who owned a farm that my stepfather knew said I can come through and work there at a pig farm. So I worked at the pig farm, and I earned like 2,000 a month. So that means like 500 a week. But in my mind, I was like, I just need to take care of my son. It wasn't about the status. It was just about making sure that that guy is taken care of. You see, but that is the issue that we have. That is the issue that we have in social work, and I think in most of the important professions, you know, that is the issue that we have. So if our government, and those, not only our government, those who have funds, you know, and who genuinely cares about our people, if those people can come to the board and say, look, I'm willing to put so money to make sure that a social worker is active in our community. Those are the solutions. And then the government comes into play to say, look, we also were going to put this amount of money to make sure that these young people from these communities that are qualified as social workers come in, you know, and assist their own communities, instead of being at home with a qualification.
So in this particular situation, sort of like an answer or a solution to this current, I'll call it a clock or a backlog, because I feel like there's a break in the system between the social workers that are coming in and ones that are already in the field who are struggling with the amount of work that they have. And I think a solution to this current situation could also be an initiative from actual residents themselves. Umuntu mhlambe emphakathini obonayo bandinazo ifunds ezingakwazi ukubreacha a gap. It's possible to help out in that way.
No, sure, definitely. Even us within the professions as social workers, United Soul say that, look guys, we are willing, from the money that we are getting, small amounts, you know, deducted from us to make sure that those of us that are at home come on board. You know, so now we are saying we have a solution instead of always waiting also. It doesn't have to be a lot. There's a lot of us that are working as social workers. Is out nje for ba abasendlini baze on board, because the mission is beyond us in terms of in numbers and in social issues as it stands. If you were in a first world country, that's fine. You know, social workers there, you know, they get paid much better. They don't have to deal with the severeness of cases that we do. So if usebenza in London, you know, you don't talk like I talk, you know, because pana, you are also, after a couple of months, you are told compulsory, you must take leave. You've been exposed to a lot. You know? But now you...
If you say East London,
there's no
different story.
But if you say East London, Eastern Cape, you can't say you want to take off, because, you know, the cases are piling in and they're coming through. And my fear is that it's getting worse more than it's getting better. So we really need social workers to come through, psychologists to come through.
Wow, man. Hey, usifundisile. You've educated us, and I'm very thankful ukuthi you came through. I'm looking at the time.
Me too. I'm also looking at the time, and I'm just like, there's still so much you want to know.
There has to be a part 2.
There has to be.
Sure.
However, usemculweni.
Yes.
And I think this is one of the questions that Charlotte wanted to ask.
I wanted to know, just as a quick breaking point, what is that one thing that connects your musical side and the social the professional side of your life?
If one listens to my music, I address a lot of social issues. There's songs like Taxi Violence, you know, Taxi Violence, the father is shot and the children they are going to experience land mhlamba, but at the end of the day by affected. So ingoma zam speak about social ills. The profession is dealing with them on a daily basis from Monday to Friday. Prime 17 dealing with those social issues, and then in the music as well. I enjoy to do music that shares information, knowledge, you know. So that's where the link comes in. For example, I was doing a behavioral project. Now I come in as a social worker, but then I perform for the boys, and then what I perform is aligned to what I've been given, like the line out.
Wow. What a blessing.
Patikakhle mfana,
Yeah.
suhambo lala, think before you act, sifundisa reject. You know, that's me rapping a song of mine, but because of the content yayo, I can present it at schoolweni, you know, ndifundisa abantwana. And now the nice thing about the youth is that they are very close to the art. You know, so if you are not gonna come necessarily get professional PowerPoint and you come and do a song rather with them with the
They
same
engage
content you
with
would
it.
have
on
On
the
a
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
but now it's a
The
song.
delivery, yeah.
Sure, and you are artists, so you're gonna make it catchy, so they can take la content home. Yabo, and then they start implementing it. I know music is very, very influential. It has influenced me in how I think, in how I do things. It still influences abantu up until today.
True.
So if I can use my profession, merge it with the art of umculo, I know that I can influence Elite esikolweni. I can make sure that he is influenced positively, so that he can also start to look at me and be like, hey, Rotman, you know, is coming with. So those we did already up here, manas. We went to primary, Lukanyo, yeah, and then we went to Kaya, yeah, and then we did that as a project.
Okay. Siyabulela Nela Kamgcina, for people who want to follow umculo wakho.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for people who want to follow,
I just said Nela Kamgcina, now I called you with a artist name.
Inhle,
Yeah.
ubambile mntanami.
Yeah.
Bambe yona. Yeah, so I have music on YouTube. You just type Nela Mgcina. Also have umculo on SoundCloud. You also type Nela Mgcina. I recently dropped a single called Uyinyanga that speaks about gender-based violence, the greatness of a woman, so forth. You can also get that go Slick on Live, Nela Mgcina. Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for coming through.
Just
Till
like
next
that,
time.
2 minutes of
Imibulelo,
Yeah.
imibulelo.
Sring abaya nabantu bonke who inspire start amandla ku interviews in pursuit of dreams and desires. Are you watching from Mekai? Welcome. Sisi kumaphupho wako wonke don't retire. Nope. Bude maphupeni wako wonke don't retire. Subscribe. Ziyakhipha6to8. Spetty content yakho is a date. Cause are you relate? Subscribe. Ziyakhipha6to8. Spetty content yakho is a date. Cause are you relate? Ulindebani. Subscribe.